Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Americans are being held hostage by the Taliban. That's according to a senior Republican in Congress. So what does the State Department have to say? We don't know. Oh, that's comforting, isn't it? Well, meanwhile, killing, attacking women, and beating children, the Taliban is accelerating its reign of terror in Afghanistan. How many Americans are still stranded there? Will they and tens of thousands of Afghans be killed? And what about the thousands of refugees who are now flooding the U.S.? CBN Washington correspondent Tara Mergener has more.
A standoff at an airport in northern Afghanistan. The Taliban reportedly blocking 6 planes from leaving Mazar-i-Sharif. A top Republican telling Fox News Sunday that the Taliban is keeping Americans from leaving.
6 airplanes with American citizens on them as I speak. The Taliban is holding them hostage for demands right now.
The State Department can't confirm U.S. citizens are being held up. However, it did announce 4 Americans arriving in a neighboring country by overland route. Meanwhile, some of the Afghans who made it out of the country last week are arriving in the U.S. Prayers answered, a successful escape to America. Final groups of Afghans arriving at Dulles Airport outside Washington, D.C., likely among the last to arrive here, now that the U.S. is out of Afghanistan. Men, women, and children, old and young, quietly filing out of security checkpoints and onto buses one after the other, leaving behind the Taliban's reign of terror in their home country.
Once refugees arrive here at Dulles, they are taken to military installations to complete processing and then given assistance if they need it. They are the lucky ones.
Among an unknown number of stranded Americans, tens of thousands of Afghans have no way out.
I love my country, but I can't stay here.
Including many who are helping the U.S. This woman, who escaped at the last minute with her children, asked us to hide her identity, fearing retaliation.
They were just killing, they were just beating women, they are just beating kids in front of my eyes. They are the same Taliban that they were 20 years ago, even more worse. This time they are more experienced. They have lots of technology to find the people.
People like her husband, father, and siblings who worked alongside the U.S. government for years, left behind with no escape from the chaos and violence. She also regrets not being able to honor her mother's dying wish.
She requested me to help 2 of my sisters, but I was not able to help them. They are not only 2 of my sisters, there are millions of women that they paid a lot to be in a situation or in a state that they were before Taliban came, but they lost everything.
In a race against time, a nonprofit organization called Jewish Family Service of Seattle is trying to help her family and others to safety.
It's very important to keep in mind the reason why these folks are in this situation at all is because of their service and their family's service to the U.S. military.
Do you feel like America let you down?
I don't know.
What is your message to Americans?
We believe on their mission. It is really hard that in the morning you wake up and you see that you lost everything that you achieved within 20 years. We didn't achieve them easy. We paid a lot. We paid by our lives.
And she insists another disaster is just ahead.
For now, they are thinking to get out of Afghanistan, but soon they will only thinking about how they can find something to eat.
A world away, it's smiles and hugs for those who defied the odds to get here and start a new life in America.
Well, Tara Mergener joins us now. Tara, some of these refugees are children arriving with no parents. What's happening to them?
Well, Pat, according to the State Department, we've got about 100+ children in the U.S. now who came without a parent or a guardian of some kind. Now, what's happening is we are told they are going to state licensed facilities in both Virginia and Chicago. overseen by DHS, the Department of Human Services, which is also overseeing the immigration crisis at the southern border and the kids coming over alone there. So, Pat, already there are concerns now about human trafficking as more and more children come through.
Well, what do we know about the vetting process so we are sure that the people who come in are not some secret agents of ISIS?
Well, the Biden administration is insisting that everyone who comes here is being vetted thoroughly. The trouble is there's not a lot of detail about the length to which this is being done. So we do know the FBI and the Justice Department are vetting these refugees in other countries before they're getting to the U.S. They're using biometrics, they're using fingerprinting, they are using interviews. If they make it that far in the process and they get to the U.S., they're going to military installations where immigration is waiting for them. But we don't know if they're being further interviewed before they leave there. Again, short on information, once they leave the military installations, we don't know where they're going or where they're going to be housed. So certainly, as you said, there are concerns because we don't have a lot of information that terrorists are going to slip through or perhaps already have.
Thanks, Tara. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to point out this is one of the great disasters in the history of the United States. We have abandoned a number of our citizens. They're being held by the Taliban. Our president and his press aide refused to call them hostages, but they are. It is a disgrace that these thousands of people who've worked with us are being abandoned, that we have left billions and billions of dollars of valuable equipment. So now the Taliban is one of the best equipped forces in the entire world, thanks to about 90 billion, or 69, whatever billion it is. It's a lot of money, $69 billion worth of equipment left behind. It's a disgrace. And we've got to look at this and you say, spiritually, what is happening? It seems to me it's the judgment of God on our country to give us a leader as feckless as we have and a disordered government the way it is right now. And I think we've got to pray. People need to repent and say, God, please help us. This nation needs prayer because we are in a heap of hurt. And this disaster has emboldened our enemies all over the world not to any longer take us seriously. We no longer are a military threat because the world knows that we have leaders who are incapable all the way up and down the line of doing the job that they've been paid to do. So it's heartrending, but if there was ever a time to say it's time to cry out to the Lord and repent, now is it. Well, in other news, there are heartbreaking images of the havoc inflicted by Hurricane Ida. At least 69 people have lost their lives, while more than 500,000 are still without power. The cost of the untold damage, a whopping, get this, $95 billion. We talked about $1.8 billion or $18 billion the last time. It's now up to $95 billion. It may be the worst natural disaster in America's history. So what's the president doing to bring relief? CBN's Jenna Browder has more.
Just days after he visited Louisiana, today President Biden will see the storm's devastating damage in the Northeast. As Ida's death toll continues to rise, the president will tour the damage in some of New York and New Jersey's hardest hit areas. The president approving disaster declarations in both states.
The major disaster declaration means individuals are now eligible for money in those counties.
This as we continue to see heartbreaking scenes like this. NYPD body cam footage showing officers diving into a flooded Queens apartment where a little boy and his parents died. In Louisiana, the National Guard is using floating bridges to reach cutoff areas. The city of New Orleans evacuating several long-term senior nursing facilities after residents were found living in the dark and sweltering heat, some trapped on upper floors. The mayor promising accountability after 5 residents died in privately run facilities.
What we found was unacceptable, and accountability will be across the board.
Right now, power has been restored to 2/3 of New Orleans, but other parts of the state could be in the dark for several more weeks. CBN's Operation Blessing is on the ground in Houma, Louisiana, helping with cleanup and delivering much-needed supplies and meals.
Our volunteers have gone out into the field to clean up debris, muck and gut houses, put tarps on roofs, and even today we were able to go to the Houma, Louisiana Police Department and deliver 150 meals to a very hungry police department.
Reconstruction efforts are expected to take more time and cost more due to material delays caused by the pandemic.
And Pat, back here in Washington, lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are pointing to all of this devastation as a reason for passing infrastructure. Pat?
Well, it certainly isn't a reason for passing a multi-trillion-dollar thing that they're talking about. But I have said this over and over again, we need to harden our electric grid, but I don't think this is exactly the same thing. Jenna, by the way, I understand another storm is headed for the Gulf. Can you tell us about that one?
That's right. There's another system over the Gulf of Mexico right now, mostly showers and thunderstorms, that's moving closer to the United States. It's expected to hit midweek, the southeastern states. But you know what? It's only about 30% chance that that storm will actually become something bigger. Pat, what's more concerning, at least today, is another system over the Great Lakes and the upper Mississippi Valley. That's dropping a lot of rain, more heavy thunderstorms, and real concern for flash flooding. So we're keeping our eye on both of those. Pat?
Thanks, Jenna. By the way, Operation Blessing is coordinating daytime volunteers with Life Church in Houma, Louisiana, and this is for daytime volunteers only. They must be at least 18 years old, have long pants and hard-soled shoes. If you want to help and volunteer with help from Ida in Houma, Louisiana, it's 1-800-730-2537 or OBORG. Remember, we want 18-year-old with hard shoes and long pants to help in the cleanup down there in Louisiana.